Kelly Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm here with our Technique Tuesday, and Heidi is helping me this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we are talking about a pattern that's from our website by Jana Markova, and it's called the bum back hat, and it is a super simple cabled hat. And so I knit that, and I'm working with this Pima Merino. And the Pima Merino is by Plymouth. You know how I like to test the yarns before we bring them in? Well, I'm testing this yarn right now. And so I knit this little hat up here. And this is supposed to be a youth size, and it definitely is youth size. And I use the needle size that it recommended for the yarn, and and it knit up a little bit small, I think. So when I measure it, I have, let's see here. See, it's about 7 inches. So this would be more for a baby hat. And did you need help with that, Heidi? I can help you with it. We were going to turn on the lighting a little bit so that you can see better. Let me see if I can come around here and get that lighting turned on. And there.
That's a little better.
Maybe that'll work better. How's that look, everyone?
We were so excited that we forgot that little piece.
Wait a minute, we missed one more light. Oh, darn it.
Oh.
Well, win some, lose some.
You know what? Guess what? We're just human. Now, why is that one not working?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's
About
okay.
that one, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, did that work? Awesome. Now we have light. Yay! We did it. I know we're already missing Jim, but it's all good. Heidi and I will just
Jim,
bumble
we
right
miss
through
you.
it. Yeah. So anyway, I'm talking about this pattern today. And I thought it was a great pattern because it's super simple cabled hat. And it's great for gift giving. So I tried it with this wonderful little, it's a Pima cotton merino wool blend. And all I would say about cotton yarns is don't put them on too tight of a needle. I knit this on a number 6 needle. And my fabric that I've created is just a little bit stiff. It is not that desirable. I need to knit it up on a larger needle. And then if you'll notice, I had changed my cables in the opposite direction at the top so I could get the little circles. And if you look at it right here, there's the top of my hat.
Wow.
Is that cool?
That is very cool.
Yeah, and so this hat is fun. I want to do some more of these hats because I was able to do it in an afternoon. It was super simple. And I like when the ribbing matches the cables.
Wow.
And that is very cute. I'm always, when I'm doing hats and the ribbing doesn't match, I'm always trying to figure out how to make it match. I'm terrible that way. Anyway, I need everything to line up.
I don't think that's terrible if that's what you call terrible.
I get too picky about things. That's what some people say. And so here's the actual hat pattern. And she has 2 sizes on this pattern. And the smaller one was the one that I did, which is more like an infant size. And really, really cute. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that we can learn from the project that I did. And I also got to talking about, you know, during the week when I'm helping customers, I think of different things that I am, that the customer needs or they're confused about or stuff like that. And so I wanted to talk about our cast-ons. And I thought, you know, so many students and knitters have such a hard time trying to measure how much tail they need for the long tail cast on, which is a typical cast on that we teach our begin to knit students. And then I thought, you know, what if I talk about a couple cast ons that don't require the tail? And so I knit up some of these samples here. And if you look at them, this first sample is the long tail cast on. You see that? It's very nice and clean. Now this next one here is a cable cast on, and it's kind of a thicker cast on if you look at it. It's very substantial. And this next one is the knitted cast on. Let me take that pin out so you can see it.
So since I'm a beginner, I don't think mine would look this nice.
Yeah, so anyway, so those are what the 3 different cast-ons look like. And so for those of you out there that are just learning, I would venture to say, go ahead and try to pick up a new cast-on. Try and learn a new cast-on. And then the trick to really memorizing these skills is to practice them. So I like to do 3 projects, but you could even spend a couple evenings where you're just using your junky old yarn that's left over from a project or whatever, and practice your cast on while you're watching TV. And then you can get some good practice in and get really good at it, so that if it calls for a certain cast on, you don't have to look up, how do I do this, because you've forgotten, right? And anyone would forget if you don't use it that often. So using the skills and looking for projects that require different skills is a fantastic way to go about it. Oh, I forgot to mention to you guys that every week we have a prize, and I know most of you know that. So for this last week, it was for this new yarn by Universal Yarn. It's called Bamboo Pop Sock. And the way that it's different from our regular Bamboo Pop is that it has, let's look at the contents here. It's right on the front. It has the bamboo, which is 55% bamboo, 37% cotton. And then they put in the poly, I don't know what PBT is, but they put in a nylon so that you have the sock yarn that has a lasting sock yarn for socks. So it's a great yarn. It was a new yarn that we got in, and I think we sold out in 3 days, right, Heidi?
Oh, wow. I think so.
Yeah, we sold out super fast.
So what makes bamboo special?
I love bamboo. Okay, bamboo is fantastic because when you feel it or you wear it, it has this cool ness to it. It's kind of similar to Pima cotton, but it is not heavy. It's very lightweight. And at least I don't find bamboo heavy. And it keeps you cool, but at the same time you don't get too hot. So it's kind of an all-weather wear, unless of course you do what Ruthie did one time, which is she came into the office when it was already cold, and it gets cold in that back warehouse, and she was wearing the leggings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the bamboo leggings.
And she totally froze. Oh my goodness, that was awful.
But in the summer, they're wonderful.
They're wonderful. Well, and also if you wear them underneath your pants to keep yourself warm or comfortable. And another quality of bamboo is that you can wear it and not get, if you sweat, you won't get stinky. And that's kind of a neat
well, good
quality.
for working out then.
Yes, it's really, Jim has the bamboo t-shirts that we sell here, and he wears that all the time. I can hardly take it away to wash it because he enjoys it so much.
Christmas present.
Yay! I know, I love the
New
bamboo.
shirt?
It's fantastic. So anyway, all right, so back to this hat pattern by Jana Markova. It can be found on alpacadirect.com. And I wanted to go through it because I thought maybe we could look at and see how I tell the repeats. In other words, well, let me show you. Let's come around here. So, I'm looking at this hat, and it calls for DK Merino. Now, I pulled the yarn that we're going to give for our prize today is called Pure Alpaca. It's 100% baby alpaca. But because our hat pattern kind of knitted up rather small, you could easily use Pure Alpaca to make this pattern. And it's by Cascade. It's a great yarn that has 220 yards. And the way that you enter to win these little prizes is to post comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're working on. And maybe if you're working on a pattern, you can give us the name of the pattern so we can enjoy it too and look it up. So for today, I thought maybe you guys could tell us, do you like the blue better? Or do you like this kind of, I don't know, what do you call that? Is it kind of a burgundy, purplish?
Well, yeah.
Not exactly burgundy, but anyways, and it has that multi-tonal effect in it too. Huh?
And that blue is almost more turquoise. I mean,
yeah, isn't it pretty?
I don't know how it's coming across the camera, but the camera looks blue, but it looks more turquoise in real life.
Yeah, it's really vibrant though, isn't it? Yeah,
Beautiful.
So you guys choose, and we'll send that one of these for the prize for next week. And then post comments in the comment section so you can be entered to win. So back to our bumback hat by Jana Markova. And I wanted to look on here, it's just talking about needles and gauge. So it says US number 4 and the number 6. And then we have the we're looking at our pattern. It starts with the ribbing, and it tells you to use your smaller needles and cast on the required number of stitches. And I used the 84, which it was small, and that's why it came out smaller. And then started the ribbing. And the way that you can tell this is a repeat, because it's in parentheses, and it tells you to do this, what's in between the parentheses, 6 or 7 times, depending on what size you cast on for, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can, when you're making your hats, if you feel like that's going to be too small for you, and you feel like you have made hats before on a DK weight yarn and needed over 100 stitches, just go ahead and count this actual pattern up. So this is 5 and 10 and 14 stitches wide. So you could do multiples of 14 stitches. See, so this is 14 times 6 is 84 stitches. So that's how you can do it. If you want to increase the size, you do 14 stitches times 7, and then whatever that is amount. Or if you wanted to do it 8 times, 14 times 8, and whatever that is amount, that's what you would cast on. Now, when we're looking at our chart right here, this is actually the repeat, the one in the box, and it tells you to repeat this pattern 9 times. Continue until you have made 9 repeats of the pattern. And so, since this one is this one, that means that she wanted us to do the whole thing 3 times. All right, so then when you start doing decreases, there was a little boo-boo in the pattern, but let me tell you how easy it is to fix it. So when I'm talking about reading patterns ahead of time and just getting an understanding of how because it's going to be constructed to begin with, it helps you out. So reading your pattern, so decreasing for the crown, you can change to double pointed needles, or do it in the round, or I use the magic loop method. But when you get down to row 60, it says knit 2 until the end. So we have 24 or 28 stitches, and then it says knit 2 until the end. What she really meant to say is knit 2 together until the end. So, because half of 28 is 14, and half of 14 is 7. So she did the knit 2 together for 3 rounds, and then she took her tail and wove in, threaded it through the remaining stitches and pulled it close to tighten. So that's how easy it is. So it was easy for me to figure out what that little, issue was. And most times with patterns, that's how easy it is to correct the problems. It's nothing more difficult than that. And then when I did my hat, at the top of the part, if you look at hers, she just did the cables all the way up. Well, I thought maybe I would change my cables. Instead of doing a cable right, cable left, I did the cable right, cable left, and then the cable left, cable right. Switched it to make a little more interest at the top of the hat, Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, so that was that. So what I wanted to do is show you the 3 different ways to the long tail cast on, and then take a look at the cable cast on, and then take a look at the knitted cast on. Let's see here. I want to use this yarn right here. So with the long tail, of course, we're making our stitches, half the stitches made with the actual tail, so you have to get an arm's length for about 25 stitches. Or you can do this little trick. If you have 25 stitches, you can give your 6 to an 8-inch tail and then start wrapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until you get the required number of stitches. And then I would still leave yourself a little extra, because it never fails that if you assume that that's going to be perfect and you have a ton of stitches, you might still run short on yarn before you quit casting on stitches. So to make this cast on, I don't usually use the slip knot. I put my tail toward my tummy and my working yarn is away from me, and then I just give it a twist. And that is the equivalent of my slip knot, right? Mm-hmm. So then I go to do the long tail cast on. I go up my thumb, over my index finger, and back through that hole that I made. And then I don't release everything, I just release the thumb. So up my thumb, over my index finger, and back through the hole that I made. Let's do that a few more times.
I think this is what you taught me.
Yeah, it's what we teach our Begin to Knit students in class, and it is a really nice cast on, and it is super nice looking. So now let's see if I can let go of my tail. I'm not going to mess with the tail anymore, and I'm going to continue on with the cable cast on, and then I'll show you the knitted cast on from there. So the cable cast on, you have 2 stitches on your needle. You have to start with 2 stitches. So you could use the long tail cast on to cast on 2, and then you would take your right hand needle and slip it right in between the 2 stitches and right through the back. And then from there you just knit a stitch. And then you twist that stitch and put the left hand leg in back and the right hand leg in front so that the stitch is mounted correctly. So I have now cast on 1 stitch using the cable cast on method. So let's do another one. And if you do this loosely, and then you can tighten it up after, then you won't be fighting yourself. So let me tell you, so between the 2 stitches, grab your working yarn, take that new stitch that you've made and place it with the left hand leg in back. And then you just keep going over and over doing this cast on. You see how loose I can make it, and then I can tighten it up as I go. And that way I'm not fighting myself. Sometimes we try to do stuff so tight in the beginning that we're just creating headache for ourselves. And it's sort of a pain to do when you're actually fighting yourself. And so we don't want to do that. So now that I've shown you this cable cast on, let's take a look and see what it looks like. So here is our cable cast on, and this right here is our long tail cast on. Now we're going to do a knitted cast on, and you would just knit a stitch like you normally would and bring it through, but don't take that stitch off the left hand needle. All you do is take this left hand leg and put it onto your needle, and then keep this right hand needle into position, and then you would just knit another stitch.
I hope I'm getting it so everyone can see, okay?
So I've knit a stitch, put the left hand leg in back, and that way your stitches are mounted correctly and you can work right from there. But just having a couple different cast on methods in your toolbox so that when needed, these are all 3 of them are fairly stretchy and pretty darn nice. Now sometimes people might have problems with the cast on edge being a little bit tight. Well, I know I have a friend, Debbie, and what she likes to do is she likes to use a needle, 2 needles together and cast on over the top of 2 needles. But I find that for beginning knitters, casting on with 1 needle is hard enough. So if you give them 2 needles, it's just another way for them to have a headache. Right?
That might be me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I would recommend instead, or something that you could think about at least, is to cast on with a needle that's a couple sizes larger, and then switch your needles on the first round by knitting right off of it. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I have this project right here. Sorry. Let's see if I can unwind the yarn. So this one right here, I had these smaller, this on here, I knit this up so that I could show you cabling, but it's a much smaller needle, and I now want to transfer it over to this needle, which is the one that I was knitting with, right? So all you do is, because this needle is just holding the stitches, and this needle, your right hand needle, is the needle that actually makes the gauge and creates this, how big the stitch is, that's the only one that matters. So I have knit 2, and now I'm going to show you how to cable 4 right. When it says cable 4 right, what we mean by that is we're going to move 2 stitches out of the way, and then we're going to knit 2, and then it'll be a right leaning cable. So here we go. When you cable without a cable needle, you're going to be making a right cable, you're going to be grabbing the stitches from in back. So of course you can't have your working yarn where you're going to be grabbing the stitches. So you need to put the working yarn where you're not going to be grabbing stitches. So I'm going to hold it in front and I'm just going to slip those 2 stitches. Needle tip to needle tip or purlwise, whichever way you are used to hearing it is fine. It's the same thing. So I have it just like that, and you have the running thread going right over those stitches. Now I'm going to reach into the back and hold those 2 stitches while I very carefully, do you see how I'm taking my index finger and thumb and pinching? These 2 stitches are being held into their position because I'm doing that. So I put them back on the needle and I go ahead and knit the stitches that I had not worked. And do you see, you can no longer see the running thread. Now, what if I was going to make a left leaning cable? If I'm going to make a left leaning cable, I'm going to be holding it in the front with the left leaning cable. So I'm going to slip 2 stitches with my working yarn in the back because I can't have the working yarn where I'm going to be cabling. Right? It'll get in my way so that I can't hold the 2 stitches that I need to hold. See, the running thread is in the back here. So then I take my needle and hold those 2 that I had slipped and hold them into position, pinching with my index finger and my thumb to keep these 2 stitches in position so that they behave themselves, right? So now I have cabled right and cabled left. All right, let's do that one more time. So we're going to cable right. We're going to slip 2 stitches with the working yarn in front. Then we're going to knit 2. Then we're going to take those 2 stitches that we slipped and we're going to hold them with our left hand needle, and then I'm going to pinch to keep those 2 stitches so they don't fall off or move or go anywhere. Now I have completed the right cable. Now to make one left, I'm going to be holding it in the front because the right one is held in the rear, so the left one is held in the front. So we're going to slip 2 with the working yarn in back because I'm going to be holding it in the front, and then I'm going to go ahead and work 2 stitches, hold that in the front, and then complete that left cable. So cabling without a cable needle allows you to cable much more quickly, and it's actually kind of fun to practice. So that is how you would cable right without a cable needle and cable left without a cable needle. And this right here is cable right and cable left, and you can see they're leaning that way and that way. So it's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes your knitting much faster. And you can see how that I'm knitting right off of the old needles with the new needle. So anyone who needs to change a needle, it's just that simple. You pick up the new needle at the beginning of your round or row and start knitting with it. And when you're done with the end of the row or round, whichever one you happen to be doing, then guess what? Voila, you're on your new needles. So, alrighty here. So you guys, make sure to let us know which one you think we should send out for next week. This blue or this burgundy-ish wine color. It's so pretty.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I saw some people mention they like the burgundy.
Nice.
I might have missed the other one.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I see someone on here from Montana, and my goodness, hopefully they didn't get all that snow.
Oh my goodness gracious, it was awful. Do you know this last weekend we were supposed to go up into Montana, and we were going to go to the Oktoberfest, and I forget the name of the town. And
Whitefish.
We had the Whitefish trip canceled because I didn't want to take a risk, because I've had that happen to me before, where Jim and I went into snowstorms in Bend, transporting alpacas one time, and caused $22,000 damage to our truck and trailer.
That would, well, that's an expensive trip.
It was an expensive trip, and luckily no one was hurt, which was a wonderful thing, and the animals didn't get hurt, so we were good. But it was scary. My husband got out of the car in the middle of the road because we were like running late, and it was like 10:30 at night, and we had to go so slow because this storm was a terrible storm. And he stepped out of the car and then disappeared, and I'm like, where'd he go? And he fell flat back on his head in the middle of the road,
That's scary.
So now I'm a little gun shy with our little going out in snowstorms. I don't like that too much.
Well, Saturday I woke up to the snow, and it was going sideways at our house.
It was almost like a snow globe,
crazy.
wasn't it?
It was
beautiful.
We got a couple
and I think
inches.
It's the first time since, was it in the 1920s that we had this much that type of a snowstorm this early in the season. Well, the good thing is we can wear our knitwear. It's a wonderful thing. So if you guys haven't seen the project that we're working on this bum back hat. And if you have gifts that you need for Christmas time, this is a fantastic pattern. With the exception of that little, the knit two together, you just have to remember that that's knit two together, what they're doing. And then you can make this cute little hat. Nice Christmas gifts. And I would say that using this worsted weight yarn with her stitch count that she has would be perfect. Totally perfect. I'm going to make some using that. And I love how that she did such a good job of matching up the ribbon. And, well, Gianna Markova has some really nice patterns on our website. So I really like her as a designer. She does a good job. So this next week, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about Once Game Wonders all the way through until after Christmas. Just because the colder it gets, the busier we are, right? We need
and remember, we have lots of warm alpaca socks.
Yes, and I wanted to see who the winner was. The winner for this last week was this wonderful bamboo pop sock.
Are we sure we have to give it away?
I know. So I'm making socks out of it right now, and I don't have them with me.
So
but
pretty.
They're on the table in the back. But it is making a very nice sock. And the winner for this is Brenda Fontaine. Brenda,
Yay,
you won!
Brenda.
Yay! So all you have to do is give us your shipping information. You go to Alpaca Direct and Customer Service and give us your shipping information, and we can send this beauty out in the mail to you. And you can make your own socks or whatever you'd like to make with it. But I think it made really nice socks. I love it. So, was there anything else that I missed? Let me look here. Yes, our summary. Learning a few cast-ons is super simple, and practicing them is the way to go and commit them to memory so that you can just pull them out of your tool bag or, bag of tricks and be able to cast on using different cast-ons. And I love the cable cast-on, is one of my favorites. So if any of you out there have not tried the cable cast-on, you should try it. I use it all the time for all kinds of stuff. And then cabling without a cable needle is not quite as hard as you think it is. It's pretty cool. Although I would say if you're doing more than about cable 6, so holding 3 in front, any more than about 3 stitches, I wouldn't recommend it. It's too many stitches and too many ways for you to lose a stitch. So, but for the small 4x4 cables, etc., it is fantastic. And of course, hats make an excellent Christmas gift. So you guys have a great week, and I hope for all of you out there are unburied from the snowstorm.
Yes, my Montana family.
Yes, and I will see you next week. So you take care now.
Goodbye.